Welcome to the UNA Baseball Review. Here are your hosts, Coach Mike Keene and Jeff Hodges.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the UNA Baseball Review. I'm Jeff Hodges alongside UNA head baseball coach Mike Keene. Coach Keene, the UNA Lions now 19-13 overall. The Lions got on a 6-game winning streak there and really got themselves back in the middle of the conference race and also managed to get in the latest NCAA Division II rankings at 9th in the region.
Yeah, it was, we've kind of been waiting to get maybe on a little roll. It seems like we about ready to get it, then we kind of have a little bit slide. Kind of got back on track, won some games. I thought sometimes we pitched really well during that stretch. I thought especially our starting pitching. But, that was one of the things where we did see that come out in the regional rankings, and that's why it's a little disappointed the way we played against Freed-Hardeman, because we did kind of put ourselves back in there. And if we could continue to win a bunch of games, that might, just keep pushing a little bit closer.
The Lions with a 4-game conference winning streak, and part of that was a 3-game series against Union last week that you were able to sweep. We're going to look at some highlights of that later on in our next segment. But UNA won that first game 5-3. Chad Bonner went out, gave you a great job as a starting pitcher, had a shutout in the 8th, but you were able to hold on and win that first game.
Right, and I think we had been real productive offensively prior to that, and part of that probably because Union's pitching was pretty good. And we knew that going in. That was one of the things about if you watch Union scores. They weren't giving up a lot of runs, so we felt it was going to be tough to get runs. We knew we needed to play good defense, and fortunately for us, we did get some really good pitching. And Chad was doing what Chad does.
And you came out in game 2. The Lions won that one 5-0. Michael Watkins with his 3rd complete game shutout of the season. He leads the Gulf South Conference in shutouts.
Yeah, it's, Michael's been. I think the turnaround. He didn't pitch a lot prior to coming into the season because he was a shortstop. Did pitch, and then now that he went full time this year, and I think we're reaping the benefits of that. He's had some really good outings. Obviously, has good stuff, but I think what he's been able to do, if he gets in a little bit of a trouble this year, he fights through it, adjusts, and we were able to. They were threatening, and then he got out of it. And then the 7th inning, he came out and he wanted that shutout and got the win. And he's, to be us, it's been a little disappointing. He hasn't been pitcher of the week because I felt he's had an opportunity to do that. Obviously 3 times, and he has yet to get it.
One of the biggest things for you at this point is being able to close out that sweep. Every game very important with the 12 remaining in conference play, and you were able to win that final game 9-7. You got behind, saw your team come back, fight their way back, and win 9-7.
That was I was a little concerned going in because we won 2 games, how we were going to come out, and obviously we came out real slow. Defensively made some mistakes early, and Cade wasn't pitching bad. He had just some bad luck early on. And we look back and how many strikes he threw. Didn't walk hardly anybody, and struck out quite a few. He gave up 7 runs. So you're kind of trying to figure out why. Well, obviously, it was led to a little bit of the defense, but they had some. Balls that just hit, and they found every hole and I was glad to see us fight back. And then, fortunate for us, Union made some mistakes, allowed us to win that game.
And you mentioned the disappointment of the Freed-Hardeman game in the middle of the week. Lions lost that game 6-2. Freed-Hardeman had a shutout late. We were able to score a couple, but they were a team that was 25-4-1 coming in and really having a great season. And they've really improved over the last couple of years.
Right. Jonathan Estes does a really good job over there, and they had a lot of momentum going in. They feel really good about their ball club, and sometimes when you're winning like that, a lot of things are going your way. But I think what they did more than anything else, their 3rd baseman made some unbelievable plays and really kept us off the board. Jake comes up there and hits the ball about as hard as you can, about where he's been able to get, and the guy lays out with 2 outs with runners at 2nd and 3rd. We would have been up 2-1, and he would have been at second base, and then instead it's they're out of the inning and kept it at 1-0. And I think he made at least 4 plays. So when we did hit the ball hard, they made plays. We just didn't be able to match them, and then of course when it was still 2-0, then they expanded when we went to the bullpen, and that's just something that we just continue to do. That we got to be able to stop at some time.
As we said, the Lions 4 straight conference wins. What do you need to do and improve on this weekend against West Alabama to get that momentum back?
I think it's always a very difficult to play at West Alabama. It's no secret that we haven't been great on the road, so we're going to have to really come out focused. I think when we are prepared, we get there and we really play with some intensity. We've had good starting pitching. We can win, and we can beat anybody we can play. Just now, can we do it on the road for 3 weekends? I thought, even at Delta State, but especially West Florida, I thought we played really well. Just didn't get some breaks to win the 2 out of 3 series. So we're going to have to play exactly like that against West Alabama. Very good pitching staff. Probably not as offensive as like a UAH or Delta State, but they have plenty of guys in their lineup that can do some damage.
And just also mention Josh Sear, UNA senior first baseman, broke another school record, 193 career games played, broke the mark of 192 by Douglas Hargis, another great accomplishment for Josh. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll have some highlights for you when we come back.
TVA Credit Union was established by the Farm Credit Administration on June 24, 1936, with 7 branches full of financial experts offering personal advice. TVA Credit Union offers low rates for mortgages, auto and personal loans, as well as higher rates on savings and CDs. TVA Credit Union is member-owned and operated, and now open to the community. TVA Credit Union is everybody's credit union. Give TVA Credit Union a call today, 256-386-3000, or stop by any branch.
Daddy, can I get a puppy, please?
Okay, Sammy. It's bedtime.
Oh, 10 more minutes, please.
10 more.
Yes, please.
Hey, Daddy. Will you buy some alcohol for my party tonight? We'll be right here at the house. You can even take the keys. Please?
Absolutely not.
Each time I turn around.
Never let me have anything.
Don't be a pushover.
Hate you.
Be a parent. Prevent. Don't provide alcohol to minors.
Welcome back to the UNA Baseball Review. It's time now for our highlight segment. And Coach Keemer, today we're going to look at the first game of the Union Series. UNA won that one 5-3. And the thought going into the series, obviously you're looking for a sweep, but to be able to do that, you got to take one game at a time. And Chad Bonner really comes out and gives you a great start here to the series with 8 strong innings.
And I think that's one thing about having Chad. He'd been in Game 3, for most of his career, and that was such a huge spot for him to be in. We moved him to number 1, but the thing you like about it now, it gives us a chance to try to get that first victory, and he's been able to settle in and really locate. I thought again he was sharp. He had movement on. He had thrown all 3 pitches for a strike. Was able to mix and just did a really good job of pitching and allowing our defense to work for us, and exactly what we needed in Game 1.
This is a scoreless game over into the 5th inning, just back and forth. A lot of good defensive plays and some good pitching. Union has very good pitching.
Yeah, and like I said, when we talked about the scouting report, I was telling their victories. They beat some good teams. They beat Southern Arkansas. They beat West Florida. But you look at the games they lost. They've all been 4-2, 3. So they're not giving up a lot of runs. So we felt it was going to be a tight game. It obviously turned out to be that way. Chad's filling up the zone. Making him hit his pitch, and the thing about Chad's movement, he just doesn't. There's a lot of guys that's tough to barrel balls on him, so we knew we had to do that. The thing is, we weren't scoring any runs, so it was kind of getting a little interesting to see what's going to happen. And the way our season's going, it seems like when we do this, there's the other teams find a break or find a way to do some stuff. But I think with Chad, I think as our defense, you're going to get a lot of strikes. You're going to get, so you stay ready to make plays.
Just a typical game for him. 7 strikeouts, no walks. Unless he's just really off. You're not going to see a lot of walks from him, and
right.
They just stayed in the zone.
Yeah, and I think this was a game too, where the umpiring, they had a really good zone. He was able to, when he hit his spots, you can see right there when he located that ball, and that really helps when you get a guy that will give you that corner. And I thought he did a good job, and obviously Chad was taking advantage of that zone, and both pitchers they were doing the same thing, so we had to swing it. And there you see him mixing in and out, and then Andrew, I think, who's probably the best defensive third baseman in our conference, right there, that seems like an easy play, but it's not, because it moved right over the bag. His momentum was taken away, and the guy could run a little bit, so he had to get rid of the baseball, and just a nice play by both Josh there and Andrew. And
again, this is the first game of a series, so you're not really sure what's going to happen, but right now you're in a defensive struggle, 0-0, and you're counting on your guys to make the plays.
Right, and that's what what we're doing right here is Chad just going to keep throwing strikes, keep making him swing the bat, and you see Chad when he's on, he gets a lot of ground balls, and that's one of the things that hopefully will continue to be our strength. Is we've been pretty solid defensively for most of the year. Now we'll have our little lapses like a lot of teams. We just got to be able to minimize that, but. That's what we were just figuring on, if we can eventually get a lead guy on, get in our short game and make something happen and get the right guys up. But like I said, their guy was, matching Chad, pitch for pitch. So it was a very good baseball game, because there wasn't a lot of scoring. If you like pitching and defense, it was that for, obviously through 5 innings.
The Lions going to be able to get on the board here and take a 1-0 lead here in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, we got some guys here. You see a ball that it got up over the, out over the plate, and Dylan Boston, just got a pitch there, and he's got obviously a lot of strength. Sat on a breaking ball and was able to barrel it up and really get it going, and that's really what we needed, and got us started, and kind of woke us up a little bit, and because their guy obviously was pitching really well.
His 5th home run of the season, like you said, you don't know at this point. That may be the only run, because both of them are pitching so well, but we're able to get a few more later on. But that was a big momentum right there.
Real good at bat by Dylan. He the guy had been really mixed and kind of pitching backwards a little bit, and he went up there and had a good approach, and he was able to do that. So now we come back out, and Chad's doing the same thing, throwing strikes, and again getting. As you can see, there's not a lot of balls that are being hit real hard, and when you do that, you just got to make plays to keep guys off base. Another pitch here, as you see it, and had a chance there, and Andrew bobbled a little bit, but was stuck with it and got the out. And in this situation, that's what you want to do. Smart decision on his part, because obviously you know where he's pitching. We're up by 1, get that second out. Now you got 2 outs, and Chad's pitching as well. You know, you're probably a good chance you're going to get out of the inning, and obviously he does.
No surprise, Doyle's hat comes off there in right field. So, but he's been a great defender for you all season out there, and Lions now with the lead and going to the bottom of 6 and going to be able to add to it here.
Yeah, and you know, think about like Thomas, who does the catching and does a really good job of framing, working with our pitchers. And one thing about Thomas, you know, he can use the whole field. He actually can hit a little bit, but one thing he does, his on-base percentage is over 500. So he does, that's one thing. He'll get on base for us and make some things happen. And a really good job of hitting right there when he stayed through the baseball. Now, obviously, we're getting into our game where we're going to do a bunt. And here's a good bunt. The ball dies. You know, Josh should run down the line, and we beat it out and keep the inning going. So, you know, the location on bunts, it seems like it's, you know, a lot of the high school teams around here with the bats. I mean, it's tough to defend when you can put the ball in a good location. So now we're even better with first and second. We got Jake, so we're going to do it again. Got a ball right here, and you know, really didn't bunt. You know, where the field was a little wet from the conditions. That little slip, as well as Jake runs, was able to beat it out. Now, normally you want to get that bunt down, obviously towards the line a little bit, but he was bunting with 2 strikes and then was able to get it down. But now we got bases loaded, and hopefully we get some things happen. And there is a ball that, again, you know, hit hard. That's what we talk about, have your approach up the middle. The thing with Josh, we get a run in, and with him, as well as he run, you're not going to turn the double play. So, you know, to me, that wasn't it was much better getting a ground ball, make something happen.
Yeah, just trying to add to the lead here, and then Josh Sear with a big hit down the line.
Yeah, and it was nice to see Josh kind of getting back into it. He kind of had a drought where he hadn't had RBI in about 3 or 4 games. Well, then recently he's jumped up. He's had about 5 or 6 in the last 3 games. So, and that's huge. Whenever Josh is hitting, obviously we're going to score a lot more runs, and that's what we were doing earlier. So, and we need him to get back in. I think he stayed and had, you know, obviously had a pretty good weekend with Union, and we'll need him to continue to do that.
And Chad back out here in the 7th with some strikeouts, and his pitch count wasn't that high. I mean, he was. Like I said, just making them put the ball in play or getting strikeouts.
Right, and you see that first pitch again, really locating well on that outer half, and then he mixes it in on their hands. But you know, Chad this year has gone well over 100 pitches each time, so it's not one of those things where you worry when he gets 100 pitches. He can handle it, and his stuff continues to be strong. He was starting to get over, I think it was getting up to about 110, you know, 111 pitches or somewhere in that range. So, you know, obviously he's starting to get up there a little bit. You know, you feel with a 4-0 lead, you know, hopefully, you know, if you got to go with the bullpen, we should be okay.
And something we know all too well this season, no lead is really safe. So 4-0 here in the bottom of the 7th, but you're going to get another run.
Right. And Bradley Nolan does a really good job of going way. He didn't hit it hard, but he does. He's got some real good off-field pop, and then he stole second base, got in scoring position, and that's what I was talking about Thomas Lomborg. You know, you throw inside. He's not going to be moving. He's going to get on base, and you know this is what we need to do: get more base runners on. You know, again, we got Josh Carpenter coming up, or it was a plate. He must have got out, and then here comes Jake Ward, who's been really good with runners in scoring position. And you know, it's one of those games where Union didn't take a pregame, so we didn't really know anything about their arms, and I had actually didn't get myself in a good position to score Nolan. And after you throw, you kind of see what they have. But you know, Jake's been good in that leadoff role since he took over for that. But he's also been very good with runners in scoring position.
Lions up 5-0 going into the 8th, and Chad started off the inning, got a couple base runners. You pulled him for Eric Wilson, and then a big blow right here gets Union right back in the game with a 2-run double.
Yeah, and this guy, this is by far their best hitter. You know, obviously you went to the matchup. You saw it was going to be left on left, and you know, they took a chance, got a relay, and the guy hits one of their better hitters, got a fastball, and, you know, we missed up and over the plate to him, and, you know, obviously drill it, and we're trying to get out and miss, you know, over the plate, and, here we go again. We're not walking, but all of a sudden, and I think that's one of the things you don't realize how good Chad is till he's out of the game. You know, you can't, well, they're not a very good hitting team. Well, yeah, they are. It's just Chad makes a lot of teams don't look that good.
And a great play there by Josh Doyle getting the ball back in and keeping that runner from going to second, but Lions now on the top of the 9th and trying to close this one out. Eric Wilson still on the mound for us.
Yeah, it's you know, it's we always make it interesting, and then he was able to start settling in and make some pitches, and then got a little soft liner, and then we're able to finally get out there and get another ground ball here. But again, you see, it's kind of the hole. We had to make a play. We couldn't quite get it there to turn the double play, but we still kept it in order to go. So. Now we're getting, they're not hitting the ball after barreling some. You can see now he's really settling in, pitching a lot better, really mixing. Now they're getting him off the bat, and then he got a pitch that's in on his hands, got a nice fly ball. So.
So Lions, Josh Sear records the final out. Appropriately enough, UNA's all-time leader in putouts. But Lions a 5-3 win over Union. That was a big win, gave you the momentum for the series. You were able to go on and win the next 2 games. But just talk a minute about Chad Bonner. That was his 29th career win. He's now in the top 10 in Gulf South Conference history, and just really had a great career here at UNA.
Oh, he really has. And like I said, one of the things that obviously we're very, very pleased that he chose to. He's already graduated. He's in grad school, and he could have went on and maybe just decided he wanted to go to school because his career was so phenomenal as it is. But obviously, he's been a really big part of our success this year.
We'll take another break, and we'll have some player profiles when we come back.
TNT Fireworks is proud to support the University of North Alabama and the Lion baseball team. Like the UNA baseball program, TNT Fireworks is committed to excellence. Our product, service, and teamwork are the reasons we are America's #1 selling fireworks brand. Check us out at TNTfireworks.com. And remember, if it's not TNT, it's not fireworks. TNT Fireworks encourages the entire Shoals area to support head coach Mike Keene and his UNA Lions by attending a game at Mike D. Lane Field. Roar Lions!
He is the most interesting man in the Shoals. He is an artist, a writer, a philosopher, a historian, musician, astronomer, wine connoisseur, environmentalist, Peace Prize recipient. When he speaks, people hang on each and every word, especially the verbs. His personality is so magnetic that he cannot carry credit cards. It is said that once he taught a German shepherd how to bark in Spanish and taught a horse to read his email. Someone recently asked him what he did for fun, and here is what he said.
I don't eat out every day, but when I do, I eat at City Hardware because to me, it's the most interesting restaurant in the Shoals.
Welcome back to the UNA Baseball Review. It's time now for our player profile segment. Coach Keene, today we're going to look at a couple of your Lions sophomore pitchers and your catcher Thomas Lindborg. But first profile, Drew Mobley, a sophomore pitcher out of Huntsville. And Drew's second on the team in appearances this year with 11. And you really count on him coming in out of the bullpen.
Yeah, it's, Drew coming in as a freshman, obviously, he's had, like a lot of our bullpen, it's been a little bit up and down. There's times when they come in and it just lights out. I mean, his stuff is really good. He locates the ball. He kind of has a little heavy fastball, but when he locates it, he's tough. He's got a good change up, and then he can use his slider to mix in. And and he's had some really good games for us. And then he's had some games where you try to find that consistency, and that's really what we're going to do. But he's going to continue to be out there, and we're going to continue to need him to prove. And sometimes you forget that these guys still are only sophomores. This is their second year, just primarily because they all pitched quite a bit for us last year.
And it's a lot of our pitchers that are sophomores, the majority of our staff, I guess. But you can't really say sophomore jinx because it's not all the time. Like I said, they have great performances, then maybe a poor performance. But Drew's still out there battling for you, and he's had some outstanding outings.
And I think it's going to be continuing with all our team. We just got to be focused all the time, position players and pitchers coming in, and we're just in a position where we have to. Every time you come in, you got to be ready to go.
Ben Seabrook set a record for you last year with saves, and did that in his freshman season. He's had a little bit more of a struggle this year. Hadn't really had a lot of save opportunities. Yes. But again, somebody you're going to be counting on the remainder of the season.
And that's probably been one of the biggest differences because last year, because we were so efficient keeping scores, every game was a 1-run, 2-run ball game, so he was coming in. Well, this year it seems like we either got a pretty good lead or we're trying to come from behind to get back up into there, and we, a lot of times we just haven't been able to get it. So you're behind a lot of times. Now we've put him in there a few times, and Ben has, he has good stuff. Abel last year, we're trying to get him to continue to be better with his ability to throw strikes to get ahead of hitters. He's going to have to do that, and the way this season is, it's very important that he does because our walks, our hit batsmen, our leadoff have all turned to runs, and it's created innings that have not been very favorable for us. But he's going to, hopefully we'll be in games where we have leads late, to get him back out there and get a chance, and that means that we're winning the games.
Here's our catcher, Thomas Lindborg, and as we mentioned earlier, done a great job getting on base, but also done a good job for you defensively behind the plate.
Right, he's, that's the thing about Thomas, the pitchers, he handles the pitchers, him and Coach Hancock obviously go over scouting reports, but he calls the pitches along with the pitchers, so he really frames well. They like throwing to him, the catchers, he gives a good zone for the umpires, so really blocked well. You know, probably the thing that he hasn't done as well this year and that he's done in the past is, you know, teams have been able to steal off us, and he's got enough arm strength. It's just one of those things we got to continue to get rid of the baseball quick. But as far as his blocking and framing, you know, he does a very good job of doing all that.
And of course, the new guy in the program this year, but as you said, he's done a good job meeting expectations, especially offensively. Even though his average, I'm sure, isn't where he would want it to be, his on-base percentage is through the roof.
Offensively, you know, and I think, you know, the one thing Thomas has made, you know, probably had to make some changes more than a lot of hitters when he came into the fall, and he's been willing to trust us and do that, and he's even been, you know, cleaned up his bunting game, and like I said, he's had some big hits for us. You know, he's hitting well with runners in scoring position. He's had a lot of big hits, but boy, he gets on base.
We're going to take another quick break, and we'll have more Lion baseball when we come back.
Morgan Stanley is proud to sponsor the University of North Alabama Lions. Please see one of our financial advisors, Chris Smith, Bill Jeffrey, Joe Curtis, John Jeffrey, or David Jeffrey, to assist you with your financial needs.
Hi, I'm Mike Keene, head baseball coach at the University of North Alabama. Have you ever heard the saying, great baseball players are made in the off-season? As a college baseball coach, I can tell which high school recruits are on a weight program and which ones are not. Help your young athlete reach the top of the sport by training with the personal trainers at the Courthouse Racket Club. Our 5 trainers are ready to work at your athlete's pace and your schedule. Try our 3andMe training program designed for 3 athletes to work with a trainer and lower the cost to fit any budget. Call Ken Irby at 764-0034 to set up a program designed especially for your young athlete. The Courthouse Racket Club, proudly serving the Shoals for 30 years.
Daddy, can I get a puppy, please?
Okay, Sammy. It's bedtime.
Oh, 10 more minutes, please.
10 more.
Yes.
Please? Hey, Daddy. Will you buy some alcohol for my party tonight? We'll be right here at the house. You can even take the keys. Please?
Absolutely not.
Each time I turn around.
Never let me have anything.
Don't be a pushover.
I hate you.
Be a parent. Prevent. Don't provide alcohol to minors.
Morgan Stanley is proud to sponsor the University of North Alabama Lions. Please see one of our financial advisors, Chris Smith, Bill Jeffrey, Joe Curtis, John Jeffrey, or David Jeffrey, to assist you with your financial needs.
Welcome back to the UNA Baseball Review. Coach Keene, the Gulf South Conference race tied as always, and the Lions maybe seemed dead in the race a few weeks back, 5-6 in the conference, but you've won 4 straight conference games and a big series this weekend at West Alabama.
Right, and West Alabama, you know, was leading for the first 2 weeks, and they're still in 3rd place. You know, obviously having a very good year in conference, especially. You know, they're going to have strong pitching, going to be a tough weekend for us, so especially on the road. So, you know, it's going to be a big challenge for us, and, you know, hopefully we'll play well and maybe get out of there with 2 out of 3 wins.
And we know the Lions have lost several close games where we had leads late and let them get away, but if you look at the conference standings, Delta State and Alabama Huntsville tied at 9-2-1. We took a game from Delta, could have won another one easily. Took 2 from UAH. That's their only 2 conference losses. Should have won the 3rd one. I mean, so the Lions very competitive right there at the top of the conference race.
Yeah, I think that's probably been this year. And again, part of that is, you know, we've had a lot of success, obviously, the last 2 years, and then kind of sitting there seeing where, you know, maybe we just haven't had one of those years where a lot of things have gone our way, and sometimes that's the way it goes. You can't, you know, look in the past, and you know, it is what it is. But yet, obviously, you know, we've been able to put ourselves in a position to win a lot of games against some good teams. And I think, you know, with us, if we can continue, I know get kind of the point of the season, we keep talking about it, but, you know, if we can continue to stay consistent, you know, get on a little bit of a roll, I think we're still a very dangerous team.
A 27-game conference schedule, 9 opponents, 3 games each, and the Lions and several teams in the conference with 15 games. But if you look at the top again, Delta State and Alabama Huntsville, also Valdosta State, have only played 12 games, and they actually had rainouts against each other. So they've actually not played games against, you know, the top opponents, right, and that's really affected the records.
Yeah, and that's you know, there's been years where you might have a game, maybe 2 games, and, you know, but it pretty much kind of evens everything out. But this year's really been odd. The weather's been very, you know, obviously very unpredictable. It's been very rainy, very cold. You know, it's one of those things, trying to find a warm game has almost been next to impossible this year. Where I think we're fortunate with our tarp and the way we move some games, you know, that's what we're talking about. Even West Florida, we've had a lot of games. Well, there's been more games moved to a different time than I can ever remember, and it's been a long time since we've had to do that. But to get them in, sometimes you got to do that.
The Lions 4th in the conference standings right now with 4 series to go. Really just a half game behind West Alabama, so you could take care of that this weekend. But it's really been kind of a strange season. We had talked off camera, but when you had mentioned, you know, basically our hitting stats and our fielding stats are really ahead of where we were last year when we were in the regional and all that. But right now the Lions, number 3 in the conference in hitting, batting .320. Only UH and Delta are ahead of us. Number 2 in fielding at .969. The second fewest errors in the conference at 34. So you're doing a lot of things right.
I guess that's, you look at it, that's probably, when we especially talk, with, I always talk about if you can keep your defense, minimize your mistakes, catching and throwing better than the other team, gives you a chance to win a lot of games, which for most part it should be. It's just been one of those things that, we have to almost play perfect. We got to play really good, and we got to continue to do that. I think going in, we had a lot of new players. We didn't know how our offense was going to be, and that's one of those areas that probably exceeded my expectations for what we're going to do. So we have a chance to be a good offensive team and defense, and like I said, their starting pitching has been good. It's just been this really. And it's it's one of those things when you keep talking about it, I think it just puts additional pressure on it. But we just have, for some reason, that's been a weakness that's never been our weakness since I took over. The
Lions 7th in pitching overall, a 4.42 team ERA. But you said not really from the starting pitching, they're a little bit below 3, but our relievers are a little bit above 6. And you feel like you've remedied that a little bit, but we didn't mention in the Union Series, Brantley Claunch came in and did a great job in the final game, 3 strong innings to get that win.
And I think Brantley came in West Florida, and that was kind of went into a different role. And one of the reasons we went to him because Brantley's going to throw strikes, and he mixed it in. And prior to that, we gave him a start, and I think that start kind of got him, back on track. And obviously, the way he pitched that game was huge because he was really good. I think he was mixing it well. I thought he had a little more on the baseball, throwing a little harder like what we've seen him. So I think right now we got Brantley being back into the mix is going to be huge for us down the stretch.
Of course, the Lions have a lot of baseball still left, but they're kind of grouped. You're going to have a 5-game homestand after the West Alabama trip, and then you're going to close out the season 2 weeks on the road.
Right.
Played very well at home so far. You've got Auburn Montgomery coming in on the 10th, and then you got a big home series against Valdosta State. And even though they haven't played that well so far this year, they're always tough.
Yeah, Valdosta, no matter what, it's like when they're like West Alabama. They have good programs. They've had a good baseball tradition. And Valdosta's pitching, everybody we've talked to or when you play is very talented pitching staff, and I know how they work with their hitters. So their offense could go off at any time, and they seem to have a tendency to go off when they play us. So it will be a big weekend for us.
Of course, in Lions, their final home game, Montevallo, coming in on the 17th on Wednesday. A team we've already faced twice this season. Very good team. 2 really close games. But another a big home game for you.
Right, and it's one of those things because we picked that game up when they had a lot of rainouts, and we didn't have a game that week, and obviously another game was let slip away. So it's going to be another challenge for us, and obviously being on the road the last 2 weekends, that's important for us to continue. Now we are playing better on the road, but we're going to have to be able to do that to finish strong in the conference.
I was going to say I don't really remember us having 2 weekends in a row on the road in conference, but we're going to be at Christian Brothers and at West Georgia. But the Valdosta Series, we're going to celebrate our senior day with our senior group this year.
And this is, it's one of those things, a lot of times we do have a lot of junior college transfers, but 4 of them are 4-year players for us. And that, I was just looking, that hasn't happened in a long time. So those are some guys that obviously, and some have been here 5, 6 years. So it's, guys that have been in our program a long time. A big part of the turning our, success around, getting to the regionals. They've accomplished a lot. Hopefully we'll have the season where they'll actually get, maybe put a conference championship or maybe win some championship and get maybe an opportunity to play in the regional again.
I was going to say, I know the fans will want to come out and see, like you said, guys like Chad Bonner, Josh Sear, they've broken so many UNA records and been such a big part of the program, as you said, turning around, going to the NCAA tournament the last 2 seasons.
It should be a big event. Hopefully the weather will cooperate and bring everybody out and just support them.
Thanks for being with us. We'll hope to see you again next week.
Thank you for watching the UNA Baseball Review. Please join us again next Sunday at 11:30.